ROWE. Just a little bit about myself. I am a graduate from Michigan Tech, so go Huskies. Graduated in 2012 with a BS in civil engineering. I've been with ROWE since June of 2021, and I work on a variety of transportation and traffic projects all over the state for both MDOT, road commissions, and municipalities and private agencies. So I saw some of my clients on the chat there, and I'm also based out of Grand Rapids, so I'm in the Grand Rapids office for ROWE, but I work all over the state of Michigan. All right, so to get started, we'll go over some just terminology that you guys have probably seen out and about when you've seen either a request for traffic counts or a report. The first one is ADT, so that's your average daily traffic. That's going to be your average number of vehicles that travel through a specific point of a road over a short duration of time. So that's going to be a lot of the just roadway counts that you get with like tubes or a radar unit that a lot of road commissions will do, like their traffic count during the summer type of deal. Your AADT is annual average daily traffic. And that's going to be your total volume of vehicle traffic on a roadway for a year divided by 365 days. So that's a lot of what you'll see on like MDOT's website for traffic counts. They'll have that as your AADT. ATR, so that's going to be an automatic traffic recorder. And these are ones that are permanently installed in the roadway or alongside the road that collect data continuously for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and for all days of the year. And then TMC is turning movement count. And this is going to be the amount of traffic entering and exiting the intersection during a period of time by direction and movement. So that's used a lot in traffic studies and gives you an idea of what you need at an intersection. So what is a traffic count? It's data collected on the volume. It's data collected on volume and type of vehicles on a given roadway. So it's split into vehicle counts and classification data. And then I have here just an example of some traffic count equipment. We've probably all seen the picture over there on the left of the traffic count board where you stand out there at the intersection and you hit the buttons based on where people are traveling through an intersection. There's also the tubes, and those are those rubber tubes that go across the roadway. There's new Black Cat radars. So that kind of towards the bottom picture, that's a radar unit that is kind of a replacement for tubes if you don't want to have to jump through traffic to put the tubes down. And then a newer technology is the traffic cameras. And I have an example from MyoVision. And those are the ones that you put up on like a stationary location, so like a traffic signal pole or a street light pole, and they record the data through video and then you send it in for processing. So a lot of times it's when do you need a traffic count? So anytime you need data about what's going on with users of the roadway. So an example would be if there's concerns with signal timing, people are getting stuck in the left turn lane and things aren't moving through, and you want to do some updates there. Any concerns with congestion at your intersection or along your roadway. Pavement design's a big one. So if you are needing to do pavement design, you're going to want to know what your vehicle volumes are, as well as your classification. So that's going to be the types of vehicles you have on your roadway. If there's any development in the area, so you have a proposed, apartment complex or a proposed hotel going in, you're going to want to look at getting traffic counts and doing a traffic impact study to see if any improvements need to be made with that development, adding to traffic in the area. There's a lot of federal requirements that require traffic counts and yearly traffic count reporting. And then if you're doing any safety analyses, so you want to do safety improvements, you want to look at a roundabout, signal warrants, anything like that, you want to have some traffic counts to verify if it's the right fix. Make sure I didn't skip it. Okay. So what can a traffic count tell me? So this kind of gives you a little bit of like the very basics, the 1, 2, and 3 there. And then it kind of goes into some more detailed data that you can pull from traffic counts. So like I said, there's 24-hour vehicle volume count. So that's going to be your ADT that we talked about previously. You can do intersection turning movement counts. You can get vehicle classification counts. You can get pedestrian and bicycle volume counts, which is good for determining if you need to do any non-motorized improvements or see what's going on out there with non-motorized. And then you can really dig into, gap studies. So that's how many seconds between each vehicle, which can be good for pedestrian or bicycle improvement type things. You can look at parking. You can look at travel demand, micromobility, loading zones, on-street asset identification. And then there's a lot of data storage and analytic platforms that you can use for your traffic counts. So you can go from very high level to very detailed data that you can pull from traffic counts depending on what you're looking to do with it.
Hailey, we've got a question here about
what
new technology would you recommend to replace the old tube counters?
I would recommend, well, I guess, so I'm going to answer that based on what ROWE uses for equipment. So we use the Black Cat radars from JMAR Technologies. And towards the end of this, I'll have a link that provides their website. But in my opinion, those are safer to place. And then you don't have to, I'm sure everyone has placed tubes or has seen them get placed, and they're very difficult and not fun. So those are just a black box that get put on like a wood pole, or you can put them on like a street sign post. And those are like a radar. So anytime anytime a vehicle crosses that path of the radar, it clocks it. So it does the same thing that the tubes do. It's just a safer version. And honestly, it's faster setup. So I would say that's probably the most, I guess, newest technology. Or you can do the MyoVision cameras or any type of the new traffic counting cameras. Those will give you the same data as well. But the radars, I guess, are the cheaper of the version of the technology.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. So I wanted to give just a couple examples of what traffic count data looks like in case you haven't seen it. So this is an example of a MyoVision report. I use MyoVision. ROWE uses MyoVision for their traffic count data. So this is for a turning movement. So this would be at an intersection, and this gives you what your each of the approaches volumes are, and then also by movement. So each of your lanes, it'll give you what that traffic count is. And then to the right there is just an intersection diagram that they also provide, and that kind of gives you a more visual of what those movements are.
We've actually got a couple more questions here in the chat.
All right.
One question is, with the Black Cat's radar, do you get vehicle class as well with that, or is that not something that you can? Okay.
Yep. Nope. You get vehicle classification. So with the radar units, you get vehicle classification, speed, gaps. So you can get the seconds between each vehicle, and then your just standard roadway vehicle volumes by direction. And then with MyoVision or the traffic cameras, you can get the same data. You can get turning movement counts. You can get speed with those now. You can get classification, and you can get roadway counts, pedestrian counts, bicyclist counts. So the cameras, you get a little bit more data, but the radar units, you get the same amount of data that you would get from the standard tubes.
Awesome. And then I got one more in here. And this might be something that we put in the parking lot until the end, but would you be able to discuss the service level and factors that are used to determine that service level? And if we want to hold that one until the end, we can.
Service level. So I guess I'm a little confused about that
service
question.
level.
I apologize. Oh, are you talking about like level of service?
Yeah.
Okay. So at like an intersection, is that what the question is related to, like capacity, or?
Maybe, Scott, if you want to give us a little bit more about what you're asking, we can, we'll work on getting that one answered. And in the meantime,
Okay.
if you want to keep going, Scott, if you want to give us a little bit more, we'll go from there. How about that?
All right. Sounds perfect. Thank you. All right, so this is an example of the report or a report that you would get from the radar units that we use for kind of the two replacement, I guess. So this shows traffic. So the one on the left shows your classification, and then it also will give you what your total vehicles through that point were. And then the one on the right is the vehicle counts for eastbound and westbound, so by lane. And this would be an example of what, yeah, you would get from a tube counter or a radar counter and the information you can pull. So some traffic count data benefits. As I mentioned before, it can help with a lot of different things and a lot of the things that you might want to pull for whatever you're looking at in your community. But transportation planning is the top one. So that would be if you've got any developments in the area or want to look at planning for the future. Traffic signal optimization. So that's going to be signal timing improvements along a corridor, or wanting to make sure you're getting a green light every time you're kind of coming up to that signal in that bound that you're traveling. Any road capacity analysis and review, you're going to want to see some traffic counts. Congestion management, pedestrian and bicycle information. There's a lot of non-motorized use on the roadways now, so having that data is very beneficial if you're planning for improvements in your area. Road safety audits. So a lot of times if you're looking for a high level review from independent folks about what to do in your area for safety, having some traffic counts and who's using the roadway is a good benefit. And then road safety improvements. All right, so that's kind of an overview of what you can get from a traffic count. So now what happens when you really need a traffic count? What do you do? I'm going to go over some little pointers. So before you count, there's a couple things that you want to take into consideration. You definitely want to plan ahead. A lot of times you want to make sure that schools are in session. So that means colleges or any of the K through 12 schools are in session. It can make an impact on your traffic and non-motorized data. Sometimes you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. You need to get a count during the summer. But a lot of times the counting window is, September through May, and that will give you the more accurate data. Sometimes you want to avoid holidays and special events, or you might want to get counts during a holiday or a special event. I know I did a study in Grand Rapids where they needed counts during the shopping season because it was right outside of a shopping center. So they wanted to have counts during the Thanksgiving holiday, to see what they could do for signaling at that location. And then typically you want to avoid Mondays and Fridays if you're just doing a standard count, because Mondays, some people might be taking a long weekend. So Mondays and Fridays are kind of that stay away from, and just count Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Another thing to know is if there's weather concerns. So sometimes rain and snow and ice can skew data, especially if you're using tubes because you're putting them on the roadway. They can get, plowed up with, a snow plow. And it's the same for the cameras. Rain, snow, and ice can kind of clunk up the cameras and block data. So you might not have 100% or 99% accuracy. And then, like I just said, equipment may not work and collect with accuracy on that.
So Hailey, we got a question, and this is related here to, what are some good practices? So this person says that our township has slightly over 50% land area that's state recreation area property. So their traffic patterns vary a lot between weekdays and weekends. Right now, they're taking 7-day counts in order to capture that weekend and weekday variation. And they're also doing some seasonal resampling. And so the question is there anything else, any other strategies that you'd recommend them that would help with being able to determine which traffic is attributable to the recreation area versus what's attributable to just regular local road use?
Honestly, I think if you're doing 7-day counts, that's a really good start, because then you can see a difference between weekday and weekend. If you know of a certain time, like if you have an idea of a certain time of the year where it seems to be more use in the recreation side of things, maybe doing your count then and then comparing it to your count now. Um, a lot of times that's what we'll do is if we know there's a specific time of the year where people are out doing more things or using that facility more, we'll do a count then, and then we'll compare it to a count where it's normal in quotes, um, and then see what that difference is. So I think what you're doing right now is probably the best, and then you can compare it if you've got, you know, old data or if you want to do another count when you've got more recreation happening and then do the comparison that way.
All right. Sounds good.
So another thing you want to do is verify your setup. So no matter what equipment you're using, you want to make sure that you review the site before you go out there or do a field visit before you actually plan to do the count. And that just makes sure that you can place the equipment or be out there safely, and that also equipment can't be tampered with. So a lot of times you put something out there, you know, you secure it with chains and locks and pins, and sometimes if you're in a more urban area, things can kind of get messed with. So just making sure you're prepared for that and you've got locks and everything to make everything secure. And then another thing is to notify any local agencies that you're going to be out there doing counts, whether if it's, you know, sitting out there physically and counting or you have equipment out there. A lot of times people will, you know, residents or the community will see things out there and they'll call, you know, the city or village or road commission and ask what's going on. So that just lets them know, gives them the information so they can respond. The other thing is like if you're counting at schools or in a public place where you could be recording or you're sitting out there and parents or vice versa are seeing you sitting out there, it's just good to let everyone know you're going to be out there and what you're doing so it doesn't freak people out. I get a lot of questions when I'm putting up my traffic cameras, you know, what are you recording? Why are you recording me? And it's like, no, we're not recording you. It's for traffic. So you might get a lot of questions too, even when you're setting up, but just make sure everyone knows you're out there and what you're doing. And then everyone's informed and hopefully we'll reduce some confusion and some concern.
We've got a couple of questions that kind of tie into this. One of them is,
All right.
are count cameras able to capture pedestrians participating in mid-block crossings or not walking in a crosswalk? Or is that camera only capturing the movements in the intersection?
Nope. So the cameras, when you load up, I'm going to specifically talk to the MyoVision platform because that's what I use. But for MyoVision cameras, you can put in there if you want the camera to analyze. The camera will record everything in the intersection. When you go to upload the data to the MyoVision platform, there is something that you can select that says, I want pedestrians counted in the crosswalk or I want pedestrians counted on the sidewalk. So just if you want to look at pedestrians in the crosswalk or if you want people, you know, on the sidewalk, you select that. So the count information is going to show folks in the crosswalk and it's going to give the direction that they're traveling. You can also set up a camera to obviously record the sidewalk data. So a lot of times when we're doing like a pedestrian improvement study and we're trying to figure out what works and where the location of a, you know, enhanced crosswalk should be, we'll collect the people counting on the sidewalk. So yes, you can process all that information and get that information from the cameras. And it provides you a video file as well. So you could always sit there and watch the video too if you didn't want to necessarily have it in a analyzed report from MyoVision.
Awesome. And then I've got another one here that's kind of related here. Are there any tips or best practices for measuring noise analysis during a traffic count?
Noise analysis. I've never actually experienced anything with noise analysis.
Okay.
But I can do some research on that and I can get provide some thoughts on that.
Awesome.
Provide that. Yep.
If the person who asked that one was anonymous, if you want to send me your name, then we can get that info to you at a later time. And then
Perfect.
I've got one more that is kind of a statement kind of question. Are there requirements in Act 51 that you know of that for traffic counts that might require a traffic count? This person is saying that since COVID, they haven't actively done traffic counts, but in the past that they had an understanding that they had to be done every 3 years for primaries and every 5 for locals. They don't their area isn't experiencing a lot of growth, so you know the historical counts are valid in terms of what they're seeing. So do you know of any regulatory requirements for doing traffic counts?
I do not, but again, I can do some research and get back with you on that because I'd want to make sure I give you the most accurate data. I know a lot of communities will do a 3 or 5 year rotation on their roads as far as when they report it back to the MPO, um, and then that gets reported back to MDOT. So I can follow up on that one as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for both of those. I think that catches us up for questions for a little bit here.
All right. All right, so you've counted your data. So then after you have finished out there, you want to make sure you download your reports if you're using a recorder. Also, you know, with the hand counter boards, you can also download the reports. And then you want to look at the data to make sure there aren't any outliers. And I'll touch on that in a little bit. But outlier, what I mean by outliers is if there's like, you see a spot in your counting that's showing like just a constant, the same number, you know, hour after hour. That means something, you know, someone was sitting on your tube and parked over it or something like that. Or you've got like this random, very high speed in like a downtown area where it's, you know, 25 or 35 miles an hour. And you've got this 100-mile-an-hour vehicle. Usually that means there was probably some little blip in the recording and it's probably something that you want to scratch that one out of the data. So I wanted to give a couple lessons learned from my experience and other folks' experience doing traffic counts. So avoid intersections and driveways. So that's going to kind of skew your data if you're trying to do like a roadway count data. Obviously, you want if you're specifically looking for intersection counts or driveway counts, you want to have the information there. But if you're doing radars or tube counts and you just want roadway data, make sure you're avoiding those intersections and driveways. Same for avoiding using that same equipment, avoid where there could be on-street parking. So you don't want to have a tube or radar stuck in an on-street parking spot where someone can park over the tube or park in front of the radar, because then it's not going to pick up the traffic driving down the roadway. It's just going to pick up that one vehicle and then all your data will be skewed. And then make sure you're setting up equipment on public property. You don't want to use private property without permission. Avoid putting, you know, your traffic cameras on like a utility marker or something like that too, unless it's like a wood pole. That way things aren't getting tampered with and messed with. And then also you just don't want to put anything on someone's, you know, yard that's not public. So a couple things here. I talked about that outlier with speed data. So here's an example in the bottom left where I've got the big exclamation point. The speed limit's 55 miles an hour. The average speed was 51, but then there was a 143-mile-an-hour speed that they clocked out there. It was a rural area, so maybe someone was driving that fast, but that would be something you'd want to be like, that seems weird, and then look at the data in more depth to see if there's something that maybe blipped in the recorder. And then a funny little story. I have a picture of a MyoVision camera stuck on a wood pole. I had a count that I was doing in Mount Pleasant, and it was attached to the consumer's energy pole. And as I was bringing down the telescoping rod that the camera attaches to, it kind of all fell down at once and telescoped down at once. And the camera actually got stuck in a little wood piece sticking out of the wood pole. And it was stuck 20 feet in the air. And I couldn't get it down because obviously the telescoping pole was not attached to it anymore. So that was a interesting issue that happened. And I ended up having to call our surveyors who were in the area, and they tried to come out and help me. We did eventually get it down, but we had lath and steel rods and everything attached to each other to try to reach up there and get it and knock it loose. But you might have some weird instances where something funky happens and you're not really sure what to do. But that was just a funny little thing that happened to me that made me panic for a little bit because cameras aren't cheap and it was stuck very high and I couldn't get it down. So I've got some resources here if you're, interested in some traffic counts, not really sure where to start. Excuse me. So MDOT has a lot of traffic count resources where you might be able to see if your location already has like a roadway count data. So I'll go to that website in a little bit. But there's a traffic count database that MDOT has. They also have a non-motorized database, so that'll give some non-motorized counts, and then you can watch traffic in real time. So I'm just going to go to this website so we can go over it quick, show you what it looks like quickly. So this is on MDOT's website. If you just type in MDOT traffic counts and search, this will pop up, but you would click on this portal here. And then it's going to show the state. And I'm just going to zoom into Grand Rapids and kind of give you an idea of what it might look like. And it takes a second to load because there's lots of data in there. All right, so all those dots, brown, blue, the years, that's going to be all traffic count data. So MDOT has their trunk line data on here. And then if the local agencies in the area report their traffic counts to MDOT and their MPO, a lot of times they'll show up in here as well. So like Grand Rapids does report their traffic counts. So a lot of the local streets that they have will also have the traffic data in here. So this is a resource if you're trying to just find some traffic counts, see if you actually need to collect traffic counts. Start here and see if someone has already collected counts and maybe has reported it back. And you can click on these points and it'll give you more in-depth data as well. A lot of times your MPO, your planning organization that you work with will also have a traffic count database that's pretty much the exact same as this, but it's just going to be for your area. So if you're in Kalamazoo County, it'll just show Kalamazoo County. And then that can kind of drill it in closer for you as well. Consultants. So like I said, ROWE does traffic counts for a lot of folks around the state of Michigan. So there's consultants that can do traffic counts. There's many, many different consultants that can do that. So if you don't necessarily have the equipment and you're looking for some help, consultants are an option. And then, like I mentioned, working with other local agencies. So you might be able to get it from your local planning organization or from MDOT or from your road commission if you're a city or village. They may have already collected traffic counts in your area and can help you out. And then I also included here some you can also purchase your own equipment and count. So I just gave some examples, and these are the ones that ROWE uses, is the tubes and radars from Jmart Technologies. And then the MyoVision Scout Plus cameras, which I talked about. Those are another good option for some traffic count equipment. So I've got some contacts here. We'll follow up with some, obviously, if there's questions still we've got, but you've got my contact information here. I'm always available if anyone has any questions or if something comes up after this presentation that you want some advice on. And then I included the Center for Technology and Training in Michigan Tech.
Awesome. Yes, so we do have a few more questions. One
All right, perfect.
Is does ROWE, the program that you guys are using, does that give you like a dashboard that shows vehicles analyzed, maybe total enforceable violations, other kinds of data like that? Like, do you get a nice dashboard to look at, or what is the what does the output look like?
Yep. So I'm going to actually go back. So sorry if I make anyone sick where I go back here. So if you're using we use MyoVision, and we'll use that for a lot of our intersection movement counts that we're looking for. So you're going to get a report like this. And this is going to show you, your lanes. It's going to, at the end of the report, it'll give you some more detailed information for modeling purposes, for the modeling software that we use. So this is a report example from the radar units. And this is kind of what you'll get. It prints to PDF. So you're going to get a PDF report. You're not necessarily going to have an online like website that you can just click on and see. Unless you're going to the MDOT webpage that I showed there. But a lot of times you'll get a report like this, and that'll give you kind of for that location what information you're looking for. And a lot of times it's, they want a PDF report or something, and then the raw data will be what would get uploaded to like the MPO's website or something like that. So hopefully that answers your question.
All right, that's awesome. Let's see, what else do we have? I've got a question that is, do you know how AI is going to influence traffic counts in the future as we're going forward? Is there, is there going to be a time when traffic counts maybe are not the main data that we're using? Are we going to be estimating it with AI?
I think that's a question that everyone wants to know, is what AI is going to bring for our future as engineers in general. But I do not necessarily know. I know, like for the traffic counting camera equipment, it's definitely getting more advanced. And a handful of years ago, all we had was tubes, and you had to, if you wanted an intersection count, you had to go sit out there and either count tallies on paper, or you had to use those intersection count boards. And now we can set a camera up and count 24 hours a day and get that data, and you send it in, and they have some type of analytic software that they run the video file through, and it spits out your, turning movement count. So I think the technology is just going to advance and keep advancing. I would hope to say humans will not be replaced, but I think the jury's still out on that as far as what's going to come from that. But Mile Vision and the traffic counting equipment suppliers definitely are keeping up with the technology, and they're constantly improving it year after year, which is really nice.
Awesome. I've got a question, and I know Hailey and I talked about this one beforehand. Can you give kind of an estimated cost for consultants, maybe by number of locations or maybe for a time period, something like that, just so people have some sense of what things cost?
Yep. So I'm going to kind of give you a range of what, a fee would be if I was, ROWE was to do it, but I feel like most consultants are probably in the general range of the same. So if you're just looking for like a roadway volume count, so what tube data, would give you, so something like this gives you your ADT, you're probably looking on a fee from like $300 to $500 to get that data, and then $300 to $500. And then if you're looking for like a turning movement count by location, is probably in that $400 to $800 range, depending on what data you want to pull from it. As you add more things you want to pull from the Mile Vision or the traffic counting equipment software, the cost goes up just on processing. But that's kind of where you're at as far as the range goes. So to do like one intersection traffic study and getting counts and looking at warrants and stuff, you're in the $1,500 to $2,000 range for the most part with traffic counts and pulling that data and analyzing it.
Awesome. Thank you. We have a question here. Will the video recording of this webinar be available that they could post to their website? So what we're going to do is CTT has a YouTube page. We are going to post this recording on that YouTube page. You'll have to give us a little bit of time to get that processed and posted. But you can send that link out and you can share that from there. We do have a few other webinars that are up there, and our goal is to kind of grow that with some of these lunch and learns that we're doing. Currently there's some information about some septic tank best practices that are from our GLIAC group, our Great Lakes finance folks, and then the EPA folks, and then also some information about some asphalt, basic asphalt information about asphalt construction and mixed design and whatnot from some webinars that we did earlier in the year. So yes, the video will be available. That will be something that you can share for sure. Let's see, other questions. This is from someone. They're saying our MPO is attempting to collect pedestrian counts, but the counters we have require a flat background with no reflections or not a lot of movement. They're wondering how sensitive the counters like that typically are. The one that they're using is a Pyrobox EVO type, if that's something that you are familiar with at all.
So I haven't worked a lot with just the pedestrian and bicyclist non-motorized counters. I know I've heard a lot of talk about it in Kalamazoo because they use them a lot, and there is concern with reflectivity and it picking up, a stationary object sitting there. So you have to, those I think are finicky as far as placement and where you place those. But overall, like if you're using the traffic counting soft, like the MyoVision or some other traffic counting camera that does vehicles as well, it pulls out the data there isn't a lot that will throw off that data because it's a video. So I'm going to say yes, those little boxes that just do pedestrian and bicycle counters can be finicky and can require specific setup and a lot of specific little minute details that you have to take into account when you're setting those up.
And this one is
unfortunately.
Yeah. This one is for MDOT required counts. They're wondering if those counts can be done on any day of the week, if they're specifically for a required MDOT count. Or if
so MDOT, so MDOT has MDOT, if you're doing like a traffic impact study for them on roadways, and they're going to want to see a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday count. Most of the time, unless they specifically request something on a Monday or a Friday or a weekend. So it's kind of study or site specific, but their standard is a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then they'll either do a 24-hour count or they will do just peak hour, which is 7 to 9, 11 to 1, and 4 to 6.
All right. Let's see. Are there radar type counters capable of a 85 percentile type speed study?
Yes. So the radar counters will give out what the 85th percentile speed is. So that's kind of goes back to where you want to make sure you don't have some weird outlier like that, 143 mile an hour speed that it clocked. If you've got a lot of people traveling like that, it can throw your 85th percentile off. But yes, that is something that would it would give all those reports that I showed an example of. It gives all, every vehicle and what their speed is. And at the very bottom, it'll show what your 85th percentile is.
Excellent. How about this one? So in your experience, how does an actual traffic count compare to something like a Bluetooth or a cell signal metadata system in terms of usefulness for most circumstances? And the systems that they're talking about are Streetlight or Bluetooth.
Okay. Yep. So I'm actually working on a study right now in Genesee County using Streetlight data, and it seems to be pretty accurate comparative to like our MyoVision data that we're getting with our standard traffic counts. So it is a good useful tool. The cost, obviously, it's a lot higher for Streetlight than it is for MyoVision processing. So that's what we're noticing. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind if you're looking, if cost is a prohibitive, but it's comparable, and I think it's good data, especially if you've got, a big area that you're looking at. Streetlight or something like that is a good resource. MyoVision also, or MyoVision platform that I use, also does pick up pings on Bluetooth, and a lot of times we use that for travel time studies. So how fast it takes you to get from one point to the other along a corridor. And so that picks up pings if you've got Bluetooth on in your car or internet in your vehicle. So it probably isn't a big deal now because almost every vehicle or everyone has a cell phone. But, back in the day when it was hit or miss, if people had that data it was useful in your car. But now it's kind of just everyone has that. So it's picking up it's picking up comparable data.
Awesome. We got a couple more that are pertaining to speed. So this one says, this is a great question. As it pertains to speed, is there a minimum distance from a stop sign or an intersection that you should be placing your equipment?
There probably is a minimum. I guess I don't really have the exact feet or, miles that you want to be away. But if you're approaching an intersection and folks are starting to slow down, you definitely don't want to have your counting equipment there if you're trying to get speed data. Have it where it's going to be free flow. You want to have your counters where it's free flow and there isn't stopping or slowing traffic. Sometimes that's hard, obviously, if you're trying to get intersection information and you want also speed data. If you want speed data for that same area that you're doing an intersection count for, I would put it up the road where, folks are just free flow. So you really want your speed data collected where there's free flow.
Yeah, I could see where there probably isn't necessarily a hard and fast
Right.
definitive
Yep.
answer for how far away. It's wherever cars are freely flowing. This is another
Yes.
one
Yep.
that's kind of along those lines. For speed measurement, does the black cat count only the lead car of a platoon? What if a slow car is backing traffic up, not free flow, and creating a platoon of traffic? We should only be counting the first car of that platoon, right? That is their question.
Yeah, so Black Cat's gonna ping every vehicle that passes that radar point. And it shows that, it's a radar across the roadway. So it is gonna pick up, or should pick up every vehicle. So that's where you're gonna have to, when you get the data, you're gonna have to look at that and see if there's, an outlier where it shows that, this string of traffic for, X number of vehicles was all traveling at 25 miles an hour, but then on either end of that, people are traveling more of the free flow speed. So radars and tubes will collect kind of that data, and it's every vehicle that's passing that point.
This is a question I think if folks have an answer to this in the chat, if you are, shout it out. Somebody asked if anybody is using flock cameras for counting.
Yep, that's definitely gonna be a question for the group because I've just specifically been using MyoVision, but there's many camera options out there now that that folks can use.
And then another one is, has anybody heard of anybody using satellite traffic count? Using a satellite as your traffic count. I'm not sure that would be publicly available just yet. But if anybody has heard of that, let us know. How about this one? So Hailey, how long does it typically take to receive a completed report from when you get scheduled, you go put the equipment out, it goes for however long it needs to stay there. How long does it take for you guys to process and get that back on an average project?
Yep. So if you're using radars or the tubes, that's something that we bring right back to the office. We download right away and can get the report within a couple hours. So probably within a day at the most, from being done counting to getting that report to you and in your hands. If you're using camera equipment and you need to send it in for processing, that's anywhere from 24 hours to 72 hours, depending on your processing time. So at most, you're going to see a couple days worth of lag there after you're done counting.
Excellent. So this is a question, this isn't in the chat. This is just one that Hailey and I talked about earlier. So I figure I'll ask it. But we had talked about, especially for folks who might have residents who might want a specific outcome. Is a traffic count, is there you get this amount of traffic difference from the last time you did a traffic count, and now that's triggering some specific type of signal change or sign change or intersection change? What is there a good answer that you can give to residents who, they have a specific answer maybe in mind for what they're looking for after you've done a traffic count?
Yeah, so I think what comes to mind with that question is a signal warrant, right? Everyone's like, well, there's a lot of traffic at this intersection and it needs a signal. Well, not necessarily. So that's where you'd get traffic counts and you'd run it through the warrant system. And there's thresholds for when improvements need to be made and when things need to happen. But there's not a hard, you have 500 vehicles and you need to have it. This is what triggers a traffic signal. There's lots of other things at play
lots of
outside of just
factors.
traffic.
Yeah.
Yes, yep. So there's lots of warrant considerations. There's, site factors. There's, um, there's not really a hard set number of X number of vehicles means this is what's going to happen. And a lot of it's engineering judgment, which I hate. I know everyone probably hates to hear that, but a lot of it is engineering judgment, too, is you have to take that into consideration as well.
So this is a kind of a follow-up. Is there a best approach to answering public questions about traffic counting?
I think being honest and letting them know that, okay, let's say you're going to get a traffic count. We're going to do a traffic count and we're going to look to see, what's going on out here and what we can do to improve something. But making sure you're not giving promises, because, the one time you say, something that might be promising to a resident, that's the one thing that they're going to remember. The one example I like to use is like for speed studies and speed data. If a village or somebody requests a speed study and you actually do the speed study and they want a specific outcome, like the speed getting reduced, that might not be the case.
Yeah.
And so keeping that in mind when you're talking to residents and maybe explaining like, okay, you want this and we can do it, but you might have the outcome that you don't want. So we're just making sure that you're aware of, how all this looks. And sometimes once you start something, especially specifically a speed study, then things can go pretty quickly and change. So I think just being honest and letting them know, like, we're going to get this data and we're going to look at it, but we can't make any promises if anything's gonna change. But we'll do our best to look at it and have the best outcome.
Yeah, I think in general the honesty is the best policy with a lot of these
Yes.
things.
And
all right.
if you don't know the answer, it's always good to like, I don't know, but I'll
I don't
follow
know.
up.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and that's
That
kind
is
of what I've done today in a couple of your questions. So.
right. Right. All right. So we have about 10 more minutes. If folks still have questions, keep them coming for sure. I'm going to drop the link to the Survey Monkey. If you can fill that out, you get a chance to tell me other topics that you might want to know about, or maybe if you want to volunteer to talk about a topic, that'd be awesome too. And then you also, that's how you're going to be able to get your certificate of attendance for today. The more that we have a proof that people want these types of lunch and learn sessions, the more that I am allowed to do them. So let me know if you have other ideas. Thank you again, Hailey, for today. Like I said, if you still have questions, you're free to keep asking them here. Hailey, you've got some, Hailey is a member of ITE and they've got some events coming up. Can you tell me a little bit about some of these events?
Yep. So I just want to do a plug for ITE since we're talking about traffic and transportation. So I'm a member of the Institute of Traffic or Transportation Engineers, and we have sessions that we do throughout the year, technical sessions where we've got a full agenda of technical presentations, and you can get your CEUs. But we've got one coming up in October. So our fall technical session is Thursday, October 10th. It's in Grand Rapids. We've got a great agenda. That's all online in the link that's under there. Early bird pricing does end on Thursday. So a little plug if you want to come to get your registration in by Thursday. But they're always very good meetings, and you get to also do a lot of networking with other professionals and other planners in the industry. And so, yeah, if you just want to know more information about ITE and how to become a member or get involved, please reach out to me and I can get you the information and share what's going on.
Yeah, awesome. So like I said, I did put that Survey Monkey link into the chat. I'm also, let's see, let me also put in a link just to plug our Center for Technology and Training. That's our LTAP office here. We have all sorts of training that's coming up this fall as well. And we've got some great stuff planned for the coming year. So if you want to check out what other things we've got going on, I'm going to be teaching a cold weather work class. Here's there'll be a few chances to attend that. And there's some other lunch and learns that are planned for the fall. So yeah, we'd love to see you at another event. Our goal is to give you guys content that is applicable to you and in a format that's easy for you to attend. So If you have other ideas about things, let us know. Again, Hailey, thank you so much for today. I think we've learned quite a lot about a lot of things. So I really appreciate you doing this for us. And if you have any other thoughts, let us know. And if you have any other questions, we've still got, a few minutes here for folks. If you do have anything, if you've grabbed that SurveyMonkey link though, and you do have another meeting to attend, or you want to grab a quick bite to eat, you did not eat lunch while we were talking, you are free to go. We are happy that you attended today, and we'd love to see you at another event in the future. Like I said, we'll hang out here for a little bit. If you do have any issues with the survey, if you attended with more than just yourself, there is a question somewhere along there in the survey where it asks, like, did you attend with other people? And if you attended just by yourself, you need to put in the number 0. Otherwise, it does not let you go past that question. So it is not the only answer to that if you didn't attend with other people is typing in the number 0. So yeah, we'll hang out. Thank you all again. And
yes, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, we'll hope to see you at another event. We'll be sending out a link for that recording as well as the slides for today's event. And we'll see if we can get some of the links that are in Hailey's presentation. We'll include that in that email. You'll get that if you fill out that survey. And we'll also, maybe we'll have some follow-up with some of the answers to the questions that stumped us today. But we do appreciate all the questions, and thanks again. Oh, somebody has a suggestion for a comprehensive Civil 3D class for land development engineers. We will keep that one under advisement. I don't know, that one might take a little bit more to build off of, but I appreciate the suggestion. Let's see. Somebody said that the SurveyMonkey link wasn't working. Let me drop it into the chat again, and we'll see if maybe there is a issue. If you're on mobile, you might not be able to click the link directly from the chat. Sometimes that's a problem for folks. You might have to copy paste it into a browser. Oh, somebody said it's not working for them on desktop. That is, let me put just the link into the chat and we'll see if that will work, because it is working for me on mine. Oh, a couple other people say it is working for them. Try that if it isn't working for you, just the link without any other messages on it. And we can put out some contact information. Hailey's contact information is in the slides. I can drop that those slides into the chat one last time here for you if you need those. But yes, thank you so much, Hailey. This was wonderful. We really appreciate it. And we had a great group of people. I appreciate all the questions from everyone. You guys keep me on my toes.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
All right, we'll hang out for just a little bit more. But if you've grab that, if that link worked for you, you're free to go. Thank you again. So Hailey, Hailey and I are both Michigan Tech grads. What year did you graduate? I know we are roughly the same.
Yes,
same
2012.
Era.
Yep,
okay.
spring of 2012.
Okay, yes. I'm like, I know we were close. I think you're a couple of years behind me. Again, shout out. You do not have to be a Michigan Tech graduate to do a lunch and learn with us. We are happy to have others as well. It's just a bonus if we can get other Michigan Tech grads. All right, folks, we'll give you just a couple more minutes here to grab the link or any other information that you might need. I'll put these the slides in the chat just one last time here if you want to grab them before you go. But we will close the room down here in just a couple minutes unless I hear that somebody needs a little bit more time. Awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize how much other data you were able to get from the radar. That's awesome that you can, not quite an all-in-one, but you get a lot more information than you would do from just having an intern
Yes.
sit on the side of the road with a pencil and
Yes.
paper and tally marks.
Right. And it helps when you don't have to, it helps with early morning counts, 24-hour counts. It's kind of hard to have someone sit out there for 24 hours. So
Yes. Yeah, not desirable.
not ideal.
Even the most dedicated intern is going to start to be like, I would like to go home and sleep a little bit.
Right?
Awesome. So Hailey, so you're based in Grand Rapids, how far out are you doing work?
I'm doing work all over the state of Michigan. So I actually have counts up in Chippewa County or a study that I'm doing up in Chippewa County for Stephanie up for the road commission up there.
Awesome.
So yeah, we do work all over the state. So just because I'm in Grand Rapids, doesn't mean that we go, don't go all the way to the UP and as far north or as far south as we need to go. And then I do work also in South Carolina. So
Oh, wow.
yep, I've been doing some work down in Myrtle Beach for some developments down there for our Myrtle Beach office. So
I would be hoping for, I don't know, maybe a Myrtle Beach project sometime in like
right.
February.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Chase, just give me a second. I'll drop that into the chat for you. There you go. There's the link to the SurveyMonkey. I know that's tough. If you get disconnected, you lose the all of the chat in Zoom, which is, I wish that did not happen. Yeah, so do you have to do anything special to be licensed in South Carolina? Like, is there?
Yeah, they have their specific requirements. I think it's through like Lara and the NICE website that you can request, and you got to have, your recommendations from other folks that
Okay.
Are working and whatever. So like for traffic studies down in South Carolina for the South Carolina DOT, you have to have somebody that's licensed in South Carolina be on those studies and reviewing it, and kind of the same as Michigan. They want somebody with that state license.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Yeah, I wasn't sure because I know it seems like for Florida, there's wind differences, and like Alaska, we had to have an Arctic engineering course that you took before you could apply for your license. And yeah, so there's always like the differences between states. I wasn't sure if South Carolina had anything special because I think they get earthquakes down there too. Not a ton, but more than we get here.
yes. Yeah.
More than zero. All right, folks, I know there's about 20 something of you left in the chat. If you grab that SurveyMonkey link, you're free to go. And thank you for attending today. I think I'm gonna give you just another couple of seconds here, maybe another 30 seconds or so, and then I'm gonna close the room down. But we do appreciate you guys coming. We appreciate all the questions, and we appreciate Hailey taking time out of her day to give us all of this great info.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. All right. Hearing nothing from the chat in terms of needing the link, I'm going to end things for today. Again, thanks everybody for coming today. We hope to see you at our next event. All right. Bye, everybody.
Everyone. Bye.